to a story you saw first on CNN, a meeting of the minds fueling new speculation about a 2016 run by Vice President Joe Biden. Sources say that the vice president got together privately with Senator Elizabeth Warren yesterday. The meeting might be the biggest indication yet that he's hearing from influential Dems before announcing his intentions. CNN's Athena Jones has the very latest this morning. Athena?
Good morning, Christy and Victor. This is in many ways the big story of the weekend in politics, certainly on the Democratic side. This was broken by my colleague Jeff Zeleny. We know that Vice President Biden came back to Washington from his home in Delaware for a meeting with Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. This was a meeting at the vice president's request. And it's interesting because Senator Warren has become something of a liberal icon. She has a lot of fans who were pushing her to make a run for the presidency in 2016. Now, she's sitting this race out, but she hasn't endorsed any of the Democratic candidates. We don't know, of course, what specifics Biden and Warren spoke about, but we do know that Biden has told his associates that he plans to make a decision on whether to mount a third run for the White House within about the next month. We know his advisors had told him he has to decide by October 1st. And part of this decision has to involve him looking very, very closely at this race. He's seeing the appeal of another liberal senator, Bernie Sanders, who's drawing huge crowds, inspiring a lot of enthusiasm. And he's also seeing the numbers like Clinton's very high unfavorability ratings. Take a look at our most recent CNN ORC poll. You see that there that 53% of voters have an unfavorable opinion of Hillary Clinton compared to just 44% for Joe Biden. And I should mention in that same poll, more than 50% of Democrats say that Biden should get in the race. But of course, mounting another campaign for the White House is a big deal. It requires organization. It requires fundraising. And of course, we know the vice president feels that he would be a good president, but he doesn't just want to run to make Hillary Clinton a better candidate. He wants to run to win. So we'll be closely watching to see what he decides in about the next month. Back to you guys.
Athena, thank you so much. Let's talk more about the vice president's political future with political analyst Jason Johnson. Jason, good to have you.
Good morning,
so when is a meeting more than a meeting? That's the question here. What do you make of this?
I don't make that much of it at this particular point. I mean, they could have been talking about recipes. They could have been talking about, Trump's rally.
Come on, recipes?
I mean, I'm telling you, the fact of the matter is, if Joe Biden was actually very serious about running, he needed to do this several months ago. Many of the campaign people that he would need, the pollsters, the advisors, the on-the-ground people, they've already joined the Clinton campaign. And what I'm hearing here in Washington, D.C. is October 1st might be too late for him to put together the kind of ground game he needs to be competitive in Iowa.
Okay, so if he's not launching a real campaign here, then what is it? I mean, you don't go out, and his people have not denied this meeting, so
right.
It suggests that they want people to know that this happened, especially with Elizabeth Warren. What is happening here?
Well, you remember earlier this year where Mitt Romney was meeting with a lot of different people? It's hard to stop running for president when you've been this close so many different times. And maybe Joe Biden, when he looks at what a weak candidate Hillary Clinton is on some levels, of course he's thinking to himself, maybe I should, maybe I should, maybe I should. I just think that even meeting with Elizabeth Warren, until we start hearing that he's getting a pack together, until we start hearing that maybe somebody has been hired to be a part of his team, I don't think he's got much of a chance. So I think these sorts of meetings are him just dipping his toes in the water, but eventually he's going to say it's too cold.
All right, let's look at some numbers here. Biden versus Trump in the swing states. According to a Quinnipiac poll, let's put it on the screen, he hasn't even entered the race, ahead of the GOP frontrunner here in Florida, Ohio, and in Pennsylvania. CNN's Poppy Harlow asked former Trump advisor now Roger Stone, although some people question that former,
Right.
what Stone thinks about this meeting and Biden's potential bid. Listen.
Well, my Democratic friends reflected an increasing lack of ease with Hillary Clinton's candidacy. Her unfavorables are climbing. She's mired in this email scandal. She's on defense. She's explaining. And when you're explaining in politics, you're losing. On the other hand, Vice President Biden, I think, appeals to the same kind of establishment Democrats that Hillary Clinton does. And the weakness of Hillary Clinton appears to be to her left. This is why Bernie Sanders is doing so well. This, I think, explains why the vice president is meeting with Elizabeth Warren.
So let me ask you about that middle area. If he can exploit the perceived weaknesses of Secretary Clinton and then bring on maybe an endorsement or just a wink and a nod from Senator Warren, he could carve out a pretty sizable middle space there. Can he not?
Oh, most definitely. Look, I don't think Joe Biden is really serious about this, but if he did join the race, I think he could really give Hillary Clinton a run for her money. The biggest difference, this doesn't have anything to do with Hillary Clinton's qualifications, it just has to do with likability. Lots of people like Joe Biden. Lots of people feel comfortable about Joe Biden. He has a good sense of humor. I think he's probably the only Democrat that could do a one-on-one debate with Donald Trump and be just as witty or just as engaging. So I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance. I just don't think he's likely to do it. And I don't know if I think Hillary Clinton's numbers are going to stay this low. I think if she has a one-on-one against a Scott Walker, a Jeb Bush, or even a Trump, we might see some different numbers in these individual states.
Okay, so there's something that Donald Trump pointed out, and a lot of people on social media are talking about this perceived Photoshop mishap, I guess we'll call it. This is a campaign leaflet that was reportedly sent to about 86,000 Iowans. It shows Jeb Bush here with it appears to be a black left hand. Donald Trump was quick to tweet this out. Here it is. Jeb Bush has a photoshopped photo for an ad which gives him a black left hand and much different looking body. Jeb just can't get it right. What do you make of this?
Well, I find it ironic that Donald Trump, who at his rally yesterday was reported in the Washington Post, you have people screaming white power. So I don't know why he's concerned one way or another about Jeb Bush looking any closer to black people. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's just a mistake on the part of the Bush campaign. They have claimed the Right to Riot super PAC says, oh, this was a mistake. It was a bad Photoshop picture. It just proves to me Jeb Bush is just not ready for prime time. He seems really out of practice. He's making mistake after mistake after mistake. If you can't get your Photoshop correct, maybe you need to do a better job of hiring interns.
Yeah, well, you know, to be fair, he didn't make the leaflet himself, but I wonder where people just get a random black hand to add to this ad. I guess we'll get an answer.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from the Bush campaign, or the Right to Rise super PAC, which is not connected to the campaign, they say it was an accident. They have tweeted out that they show the original photo. It's Bush. He's talking to another woman, and the hand is in a shadow. So they're saying that it's just a bad example of Photoshop, not that his face was photoshopped on the wrong body. It's just the picture as a bad shadow. That's what they're claiming.
All right. Jason Johnson, thank you so much.
Thanks, Victor.